Can you talk to me a little bit about you were talking about being from Baltimore and being a civil rights lawyer from Baltimore, and you saw the attacks on Trump and Elijah Cummings today. That seemed to really like you immediately came up to me and talked to me about that. So can you talk a little bit about how that made you feel?
Well, people of color feel under attack anyway because they're murdered by cops. Baltimore, where I'm from, is no different. There's a long history of that. But Trump has unleashed permission en masse, not just in New Hampshire, but in a lot of other rural areas, to have violent speech. And we all know historically that violent speech is followed by violent acts.
Yeah, definitely. So, what were your thoughts about? You were talking a little bit about the Elizabeth Warren campaign and working with Hillary Clinton campaign before we started the cameras rolling. What are your thoughts for this primary election and whatnot?
Well, Bernie Sanders has a long history. He's the head of a movement. It's a very old movement. Dr. King was the leader of that before he was assassinated the year I graduated from high school in 1968. Dr. Cornel West has a very interesting explanation with the Joe Rogan podcast recently, explaining the history of what's going on in this country, and too many of us Americans aren't really familiar with the history. I'm siding with Elizabeth Warren campaign because I think it's time we put a woman in as president, and she espouses the policies that Bernie Sanders has been talking about for a long time.
Okay. All right. Definitely. So it just I didn't even say anything about Bernie Sanders. And he brings it up, and you're the second person I've interviewed here in Nashua today. And the other guy also brought up Bernie Sanders unprompted. And of course, Bernie Sanders is from neighboring Vermont, so got a lot of name recognition out here. But also, as far as the you spoke about the progressive movement and whatnot, and the movement behind him. What makes you think that someone like Elizabeth Warren, who doesn't have that progressive movement behind her, could get the policies accomplished? And do you think that the folks that are behind Bernie Sanders would get behind Elizabeth Warren to help achieve those policy goals?
Because I've been here for so many years and I've been active in Democratic politics all my life, I'm not willing to say which following group will join which candidate, but I do know we're on the right track because what Bernie and Senator Warren are talking about is reality, whereas the Trump people aren't talking about the world we all share.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the John Delaney's, the Hickenloopers out here, saying we should get rid of the word socialism? Don't even say that because that's going to scare the Republican middle. How do you feel about that idea? Like, clearly these policies have like pushed a generation and activated a generation, but we have folks like Hickenlooper saying we shouldn't even use the word.
Well, I think what President Obama was able to do, which is to get young people out to vote, will happen again. I think your generation and younger are motivated, and all they have to do is show up and vote, and whoever they vote for will be president.
So do you think that someone, let's say the Democratic Party, and shenanigans happen because we're more likely than not to have a contested convention because there's so many people running for president this time around. So the superdelegates will basically have a shot to decide and give it to the second or third person if they want to. And do you see young people getting out and voting for, say, one of these centrist Democrats that that really doesn't have the energy behind them that, say, a Sanders or a Warren does?
Well, I'm from 34th Street in Baltimore. I grew up understanding nobody has my back. I understood that I could be targeted and killed when I was 4 years old. In my lifetime, since I've been in New England and here in New Hampshire, I've seen people who are targeted, who are discriminated against, who face very difficult life circumstances without health care in this state, without all the things that human beings need and deserve, and not just in this country, but all over the world. The fact of the matter is, Women are going to come out and vote because women know they have the power. All they have to do is vote. And that's a change in historic proportions.
Yeah. Well, specifically, black women have consistently for the last quite a while voted at rates that you only see in countries where it's illegal to vote. So one could say that you don't win without black women.
The Democratic Party has always been a party of coalitions, but everybody identifies that we share a common goal, which is to have a family, to have a community that works, and to have a government that we can turn to for help.
Okay. So in saying specifically talking about a government that we can turn to for help, we talk about Medicare for all and whatnot. Like that seems to be the litmus test this time around. And we have a system right now currently where upwards of 30,000 people a year die from preventable causes in what's supposed to be the wealthiest country in the world. But we have folks saying, okay, well, we need to have maybe a half measure here will do. Like we have Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris just recently came out with her plan that says that insurance companies, you get to stay making your profits, and here's a bargain plan for free from the government, instead of overhauling the system like I guess the rest of the developed world has done.
I believe that we Democrats are going to vote for the strongest fighter, and I think whoever goes into office will sort that out.
Well, how do you think they go about sorting that out? Wouldn't the point of the primary be to sort that out, to like for us to decide, hey, this is what this person's plan is, this is what that person's plan is, and we decide on the person that has the best plan? Or
As a civil rights advocate over the years, what I've found is that people of good conscience will follow through and do the best they can. We have an elected Congress, and that's their job. But we also have, as manifested by Donald Trump, a president who can exceed the precedent for executive orders and exceed protocols and cultural taboos. So there's no reason why we can't do that too.
yeah, okay. So how do you think that we should go about getting to Medicare for all? What are your personal beliefs on that?
President Barack Obama started it with the Affordable Care Act. We're just continuing that. We've had a 4-year hiatus both in leadership and ability to grow our communities. We're back on track.
So you just think regardless, no matter what Democrat comes in, we'll be all right?
Totally.
Well, there are people that say, like maybe Anita Turner, who would say any old blue won't do. What do you have to say to folks that are on the other side of that and are like, no, we need a progressive Democrat, period, at the very least, somebody that's a progressive, if not democratic socialist like Bernie Sanders. What do you say to hardliner folks like that are like, no, I can't of conscience vote for someone that's one of these centrist Democrats or one of these corporate Democrats?
Well, I say, si se puede, no hace ninguna diferencia, because it doesn't make a difference. We can do this.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statusquo.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statusquo.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.